If I'm being honest, by I Don't Know Man on AO3. Episode 12. Chapter 3. You may have network connecting problems. 3 hours into his self-quarantine, Todoroki began to realize just how much he enjoyed meals with his classmates. He could imagine it now. Ida tying the napkins into the dispenser, Kaminari unironically laughing at the cow puns on the milk cartons, Mineta accidentally spilling juice on some poor girl's blouse and offering to help her clean it up. The Fox memories, excluding the last one, triggered a mute clench in Todoroki's chest. In just a few months, he was going to graduate. No more sticky cafeteria seats, coffee-filled smiles of camaraderie during the last-minute study sessions, or the same blazer or tie every morning. No more Midoriya. How had it never occurred to Todoroki that he would soon step out of the dorm room and no longer be able to call it his own? The realization made him want to stay quarantined in this little tiny galaxy forever. Midoriya has been the one to first invite Todoroki to eat lunch with his friends. Unsurprisingly, Midoriya's usual table eventually evolved into the focus point of Class 1A during meals. Students crowding the wobbly tables excitedly and chattering about their mouthfuls of Odon. Midoriya had that effect, really. A magnetic pull that tugged at anyone who ventured near the boy. Todoroki had given it easy to the attraction, following the electric thumb all the way back to a rickety cafeteria seat right next to Midoriya. Ever since their first shared lunch, with Midoriya going out of his way to include Todoroki in the conversation, the thrum had intensified until it became a piece of Todoroki's very makeup, as steadily as his heartbeat. Who would act as that magnetic pole after graduation, drawing Todoroki deeper within its allure with each passing day? Who would ask Todoroki's opinion on pro hero costumes, or persuade Todoroki into a Disney marathon to save his childhood? Who would give Todoroki his rice pudding every lunch, just because he knew it was Todoroki's favorite? Who would tell Todoroki to think about late at night as starlights twinkled on his tanium mats? Well, that answer would probably remain the same long after graduation. Todoroki's phone buzzed, blue light glaring harshly across his face. Midoriya Izuku. Are you coming dinner soon? I saved your seat. Midoriya must have employed the shag approach too. That, or he was politely letting the two of them pretend nothing ever happened for the sake of preventing their friendship. Eventually, giving Todoroki a get-out-of-jail-free card. How characteristically thoughtful of the boy. Todoroki turned off his phone and buried his face in his pillow. The clock read 6:47 when Ashui returned with dinner, and if she noticed a slight puffiness in Todoroki's eyes, then she didn't mention it. I hope you like cold soba. Midoriya said that you do. Asui presented a covered tray. He also said that he hopes you feel better soon. Bakugou then suggested you try an icy hot patch to dull the pain away and relax it away. Todoroki took the tray. Did he really say that? So you nodded with a ribbit. It is Bakugou, after all. Todoroki couldn't help it. He snorted, then laughed outright, setting the tray on his desk to avoid spilling it. Hell, the quip wasn't even that funny. But still, he laughed, purging his mind of the clinging melancholy, and Asui quickly followed suit, croaking in amusement. His stomach tweaked, again, but this time, no quirks were involved. You know, Todoroki grinned, a rare thing, knowing full well how ridiculous he looked. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to miss having Bakugou around next year. Me too. Suyu's expression softened. I'm going to miss all of the class. Todoroki's juvenile move deflated a bit. Yeah, we've been through a lot together. Suyu noted again, peering intently at Todoroki. This may not be my place to say, Todoroki, but I think that you should contemplate how little time we have left here, with all our classmates. Her gaze pinned Todoroki. It's easy to think that we'll always be there, but another opportunity until suddenly you find yourself face to face with a closed door. Todoroki frowned, lost. You have to be more specific. Suyu tapped her pointer finger together. I'm saying, If there was someone special to me within my grasp, I would consider making sure that my feelings reach them while they still can. Moments when lost can't be found again. Todoroki flushed. Not this again. Did everyone in the whole damn class know about his feelings? Wouldn't. What exactly are you talking about? Suyu's gaze didn't falter. I'm not gonna ask you about him directly, because I really do believe in privacy, but I just feel the need to say something. At dinner, his care for you was so clearly evident, and Suyu paused. I apologize, Todoroki. I'm overstepping my boundaries. Ha, damn. An ally, huh? What makes you think that Midoriya is within my grasp? Todoroki asked, putting himself out on a limb. He hoped she'd read between the lines. She did. I was able to accurately read your own feelings, wasn't I? And if you're a bank vault, then Midoriya is like an open-air fruit stand, emotionally. He wears his heart so openly on his sleeves that I fear for his safety. Midoriya so clearly wants the best for you, and would put himself in harm's way to ensure that in a heartbeat. His feelings for you run deep. The words chirp at the peripheral lock on Todoroki's heart, but failed to breach it completely. It had been 2 years to strengthen himself, after all. I'm not so sure us sue you. Midoriya's like that with everyone. He's just amazing, no matter the relationship. Besides, none of those things are necessarily romantic. Love is more than just flowers and chocolate, Todoroki. Asui asserted, and Todoroki short-circuited a bit at the L word. But I understand what you're saying. Unfortunately for your argument, though, I have proof for that too. Despite knowing better, Todoroki's heart beat a little louder. Proof? Proof. Let's see, where to start. Asui tapped her chin. How about the fact that Midoriya gives you his rice pudding every day at lunch? The tips of Todoroki's ears flushed, just a little. He simply knows that I like it. He's a very generous guy. Speaking of things that you like, it was interesting how Midoriya knew all your favorite foods today at dinner. That's completely platonic. I'm sure he knows Ida's also, or even Bakugou's. Todoroki shuddered slightly. A dangerous smirk spread across Asui's face. All right, then. Remember the second-year winter formal, when I went to bring Ochako some punch? I overheard him whisper to her, "It's unfair Todoroki looks even hotter in a suit. That should be illegal." And that's an exact quote. Suyu let out an amused ribbit. I remember it so clearly because Ochako and I laughed about it for a good 5 minutes. Supportively, of course. Todoroki's flush spread to cover the entirety of his ears. That's still not... I'm not finished. Suyu interrupted, clearly enjoying Todoroki's distress. Once, during first year, he showed me a photo on his phone of a cute frog umbrella he saw in a shop window. I accidentally scrolled over to the last picture, and it was a screenshot of you from the sports festival with your shirt half burned off. He turned bright red and started blabbering about how it was to study the effects of your fire. Todoroki choked, some distant part of himself wishing that he had a photo of Midoriya shirtless. Maybe he was actually studying my quirk. A deadpan stare was the only answer Sue graced Todoroki with. The lock around Todoroki's heart rattled precautiously, yet still firmed shut. Reality, and all of its cruel reasons, wasted no time clipping the wings of Todoroki's flight of fantasy. There has to be some other explanation. Todoroki insisted. The teen wasn't ignorant of his own physical appearance, especially with the extent of the internet. Maybe he just thinks I'm handsome, but that's all. You could easily find someone attractive but not necessarily like them. Even it was just the Persky influence of teenage hormones, which Todoroki was all too familiar with. The notion of Midoriya thinking that way of Todoroki did funny things to the teen's stomach. That's a stretch, Todoroki. In my opinion, the most likely explanation is that you will have the hardest time accepting, and heaven knows why you're so convinced otherwise. Midoriya, almost definitely, has had, and still has, romantic feelings for you. First Todoroka, now Suyu. Christ, This conversation was getting a little too much for Todoroki's poor heart. That can't be, Todoroki murmured, mostly to himself. Midoriya is well, he's Midoriya. There's no way he'll ever think of me like that, especially when he's so closer to like, Uraraka. Uraraka is gorgeous, and funny, and kind, and actually adds to the conversation, unlike me. Tsuyu laced her fingers together patiently, and Todoroki felt like a child throwing a tantrum. Are you really worried about Ochako as competition? Because I wouldn't, if I were you. He groaned in frustration. Not Uraraka, necessarily. I just mean that Midoriya could do so much better than me. So there's no way he'll like me more as a friend. Every time I accidentally let something slip, he just seemed creeped out and unsure how to let me down. Todoroki? I'm sure that's not the case. This is almost certainly a classic case of misinterpretation on both ends. You have many admirable qualities that I'm confident Midoriya has noticed, and you should really go search your hashtag on Twitter sometime. Tsuyu riveted, not unkindly, and Todoroki wondered if she and Ashido had a little chat during dinner. Midoriya certainly does. I can't imagine how he handled that week when hashtag Shouto's throat trended. Don't remind me of that evil hashtag. Todoroki groaned. He really should have known better than to eat that popsicle in public. If anything else, Feline Gate had taught Todoroki lots of creative new slang. Was it possible Midoriya had actually looked through that hashtag? Todoroki knew it was mostly a big joke, but still, according to Ashido and Kaminari, highly unnecessary commentary at the time, some of the pictures floating around had been generously suggestive, so the thought of Midoriya scrolling through them, perhaps late at night, and fixing on Todoroki's lips and wondering how those lips would taste. Well, with the advance of Todoroki's blush to his neck, he decided that it was high time to end the conversation. Well, Tsuyu, thank you very much for the food. I genuinely appreciate it. Asui put her hands up in a placating gesture with a ribbit. I get it. I'll stop teasing you and leave. Her expression turned serious. I do mean what I said about seizing opportunities, Todoroki. Even if Midoriya rejects your feelings, which he absolutely won't. At least you won't graduate and leave this place with that what if clouding your future. Confess to him, Todoroki, before it's too late. Please, at least think about it and enjoy your soba. Asui turned towards the door, bow tie styling swishly into the movement. Bits and pieces of the conversation flickered through Todoroki's head, like a film reeling, and he felt his chest bubble. Before he even registered his own thoughts, Todoroki called Asui's name. She shot him a look over her shoulder, tongue lolling. For fuck's sakes, he was going to sound like a goddamn middle schooler. Did Midoriya really say I looked hot in a suit? Tsuyu's lips quipped. Not just hot, Todoroki. Even hotter. Let me know if I could help you more with that rogue quote. With that, Tsuyu was gone. Todoroki reached for his meal and began chewing on his food robotically as his mind raced at warp speed. And speaking of even hotter, it wasn't long until Todoroki's dorm room thermos read 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I think in the whole aspect of Todoroki not wanting to believe that Izuku could possibly like him, it could be stemming from trauma. You know, sometimes it's insecurity within itself. Sometimes kids who grow up in broken homes believe that they're not worthy of loving because they don't know what love is. Therefore, they're not worthy of it. Or they see people around them and have never really shown love because they grew up in a broken household. And like in Todoroki's case, he grew up in a broken household. His father is, horrid, and, he feels as though he does not deserve love because one day he will become like his father, or fears, even if it's in a subconscious level. Or it could be either he fears he's going to become his father and, the other person doesn't deserve that. He feels as though he doesn't know how to love, so nobody deserves him. Or he's insecure with love. Therefore, he feels as though no one can love him because growing up, he was never shown love. Therefore, when someone shows him love, it's out of his comfort zone and he wants to portray that as it nothing of the sort, you know, kind of thing. It's a self-defense kind of mechanism. We feel close within our bubble. Our comfort box is our safety box, even if that safety box is not safe. It is this context of like, we try so hard to stay in our safety box no matter what, even if staying in that safe box is a detriment to our health, mentally and or physically. Because in the end of the day, we're human and we don't like change. We like comfort. We like comfort. We don't like to be uncomfortable. You know, it is who we are. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.